What if the most powerful weapons on Earth were fired while the president watched from just meters away? That's exactly what happened on October 5th, 2025. The Atlantic Ocean turned into something no one expected. Missiles flew into the sky. Fighter jets screamed across the water. Soldiers dropped from helicopters. And Donald Trump stood right there, watching every second. But this wasn't a movie. This wasn't practice. This was real. 8,000 military personnel were in action. Billions of dollars worth of weapons were ready to fire. And the whole world was paying attention. China was watching. Russia was watching. Iran was watching. But what happened next? Nobody saw coming. Something took place on that aircraft carrier that left even commanders with decades at sea speechless. A moment so powerful, it sent a message to every enemy of America. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what that message was. It all started at a pier in Virginia, where 10,000 sailors waited for their president before anything happened at sea. It started here, Naval Station, Norfolk in Virginia, the largest naval base in the world. And on this day, 10,000 sailors gathered at Pier 14. They stood in perfect rows, all of them wearing bright white uniforms. Behind them, two giant warships blocked the sky. The USS Harry S. Truman, a massive aircraft carrier, and the USS Kearsarge, an assault ship built for war. But something was wrong with these sailors. They hadn't received their pay in weeks. The government shutdown had frozen everything. Many of them had bills waiting at home. Still, they stood tall and proud because their commander-in-chief was coming. Then Donald Trump stepped onto the stage. He stood right between the two warships. He looked at the sailors and made one promise. "You will receive your back pay. I give you my word." The crowd erupted in cheers. Nearby, a fighter jet sat on display. An FA-18 Super Hornet, painted under the cockpit. Donald J. Trump, 45 to 47. This moment wasn't just about words. It was about loyalty. The Navy stood with Trump, and Trump stood with the Navy. Then a helicopter appeared. Trump climbed inside with the First Lady. The aircraft lifted off, flying toward the ocean. The sailors watched it disappear into the sky. But they knew the real event was just beginning. The president was heading to a warship at sea, and what waited for him out there would shock the world. The helicopter landed on something massive. The USS George H.W. Bush, CVN-77, the 10th and final Nimitz-class supercarrier. It stretches 332.9 meters long. That's the length of 3 football fields. Its flight deck can launch a fighter jet every 20 seconds. But this ship doesn't just carry planes. It carries American power. Wherever it sails, the rules change. A floating fortress, a moving city built for war. Over 5,000 sailors live and work inside this steel giant. They operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in every ocean, in every weather condition. And what makes it even more dangerous? It runs on nuclear power. That means it never needs to stop for fuel. It can sail for 20 years without refueling. The flight deck is 76.8 meters wide. 4 giant steam catapults sit ready to launch jets. The home of Carrier Strike Group 10. And on this day, it became the home of the president. Trump and the First Lady stepped onto the deck. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth stood beside them. So did Admiral Daryl Caudle, a man with 40 years in the Navy. The Admiral looked around. He knew what was coming. Every system about to be demonstrated, used the same way in real combat. The stage was ready, the destroyers had their orders, and millions of dollars worth of missiles were about to fly. The real firepower began. Arleigh Burke-class destroyers moved into position, guided missile warships that form the backbone of the entire Navy fleet. They belonged to Destroyer Squadron 22. Their job, protect the carrier at all costs. And today, they would show the president exactly how they do it. These ships don't fire warning shots. They fire to destroy. Every sailor on board knew this moment mattered. The commander-in-chief was watching from the carrier deck. Then the order came. 5 missiles launched into the sky. Standard Missile 2 interceptors. Each one costs at least $2 million. Built to destroy enemy aircraft and cruise missiles. The sound was deafening. The explosions echoed across the Atlantic Ocean. White trails streaked upward. The missiles accelerated to Mach 3 in seconds. This is the shield that protects the carrier battle group from air attack. But the destroyers had more to show, and Trump hadn't looked away for a single second. The missiles were impressive, but the next weapon was louder and far more terrifying. The missiles had launched, but the destroyers weren't finished. Mk-45 naval guns, mounted on every Arleigh Burke destroyer. These guns fire 5-inch rounds. They can hit targets over 20 miles away, and now, they fired live rounds across the Atlantic. Each blast shook the air. Each round screamed over the water. The sound of American dominance, raw, unfiltered, relentless. Multiple rounds flew one after another. But the guns weren't the only defense system. Something even more terrifying activated. The CIWS, Close-In Weapon Systems, also called the Phalanx. 20-millimeter rotary cannons that spin and fire thousands of rounds per minute. Imagine a wall of steel flying through the air. That's what the Phalanx creates. Its only purpose, shred anything that gets too close. Missiles, drones, aircraft, the last line of defense. When everything else fails, the Phalanx doesn't. The destroyers had shown their teeth. Trump watched it all from the flight deck. But the next part of the show came from above, and it involved the most elite warriors on Earth. The guns went quiet, but the show was far from over. Everyone looked up. An MH-60S Seahawk helicopter hovered above the flight deck. Thick ropes dropped from the open cabin. Dark figures appeared in the doorway. Then they came down at extreme speed. Navy SEALs, the most elite special operations forces on Earth. Fast roping, no parachutes, no safety nets, no margin for error. Just training, discipline, and perfect precision. The men behind America's most secret missions. They work without noise. They operate without recognition, and in just seconds, they reach the deck. Boots hit steel, positions secured, equipment ready. A live demonstration of rapid insertion, the same method used in real combat. Shipboardings, hostage rescues, high-risk raids. But what made this moment different? Trump stood just meters away as they landed. These operators don't perform for cameras. They deliver results, and in seconds, they showed exactly how fast action can happen. Then the deck was cleared because the next part needed open runway, and the sound of jet engines was already rising. The deck was clear. Time for the jets. F/A 18E Super Hornets lined up on the bow. Right behind them, F-35C Lightning II stealth fighters. Steam hissed from the catapult systems. C-13-2 catapults. The moment everyone waited for. A pilot sat strapped inside the cockpit. Visor down, hands on the controls. He pushed the throttle to full power. The jet engines roared. The entire deck vibrated. The holdback bar gripped the landing gear tight. One mistake here would shut the deck down instantly. Then, release. 52,000 pounds of force exploded in an instant. The jet went from 0 to 150 knots in just 2 to 3 seconds. The pilot's body slammed back against the seat, and the fighter rocketed off the deck, straight into the sky. Then came another launch, and another, and another. This carrier can launch a jet every 20 seconds. Trump stood on the deck, watching them fly one after another, a conveyor belt of raw American power. But launching was just the start. Those fighters had a mission, simulated combat, at speeds over 1,000 knots. The jets were high in the sky, and the real test was about to begin. F/A-18 Super Hornets flew from one direction. F-35C Lightning IIs came from the other. They moved toward each other at incredible speed. Then, they merged. How a dogfight starts. The pilots yanked their controls and pulled hard. Their jets twisted into sharp angles. And that's when the G-forces hit. 7 Gs pressed down on their chests, then 10 Gs, then 12 Gs. Their blood rushed away from their brains. Their vision began to shrink. Every muscle in their body screamed, but they didn't stop. They kept flying. They kept fighting. Simulated Sidewinder missiles locked on using heat signatures. Simulated AMRAAM missiles chased targets using radar. And these pilots weren't training for ordinary enemies. They were preparing for the best in the world. China's Air Force, Russia's fighter jets, real combat training happening live in front of the president. The jets twisted through the air. They rolled and dived without warning. Every single move was designed for one purpose, to win. But among all these fighters, one stood apart. the F-35C Lightning II, the most advanced stealth jet ever created, and it was about to show everyone why. The aircraft that changes everything, the F-35C Lightning II, a fifth-generation stealth fighter, nearly invisible to radar, and the most lethal jet in the sky. The future of American air power. What makes it so dangerous? Enemy radar cannot see it coming. By the time they detect it, the fight is already over. The aircraft China fears the most. The aircraft Russia still cannot match. And on this day, it flew right above Trump's head. The jet performed rapid nose repositioning. It shot straight up in a vertical climb. It flew at supersonic speed, without even using afterburners. That's called supercruise. Then it dropped low, skimming just above the water. Low altitude ingress. It lets the jet fly under enemy radar. Every capability was on full display. Trump stood on the deck and watched the ghost scream overhead. A single aircraft that can change the outcome of an entire war. And America has over 900 of them right now. And more are being built every year. The fighters had proven their power, but there was still one question left. Who controls all of them in battle? The answer was flying high above the carrier, watching everything. Someone had to control them. That's where this aircraft comes in. The E-2D Hawkeye. It looks different from the rest. A large radar dome sits on top. A flying command center. Its radar can see 250 miles in every direction. It tracks every aircraft. It tracks every ship. It tracks every threat. And it tells the fighters exactly where to go. Without the Hawkeye, pilots fly blind. With it, they become a coordinated force. One single aircraft gives complete battlefield awareness. The brain of the entire strike group. A P-8 Poseidon flew across the sky. It hunts submarines hiding deep below the water. It also tracks enemy ships on the surface. Nothing escapes its sensors. Then came one of the most dangerous demonstrations. A fighter jet was running low on fuel, high above the ocean. A tanker aircraft was waiting. The fighter moved in close, just a few feet between them. Then a fuel line connected in midair. Thousands of pounds of fuel transferred at high speed. One small mistake means collision. One wrong move means explosion. But the pilots did it perfectly. How America keeps its jets flying for months, anywhere in the world, without ever touching the ground. All the demonstrations were complete, but the Navy still had one final message. Every aircraft was coming back to the carrier, all of them, at the same time. Trump and Melania stood on the flight deck. They looked toward the horizon. At first, just a low rumble. Then the sound grew louder and louder until it became a deafening scream. Then the jets appeared. They came straight at the carrier, flying just meters above the deck. The noise hit like a wall. The air around them shook. Sonic booms echoed across the Atlantic Ocean. 8,000 sailors, SEALs, and Marines watched in total awe. The deck went silent. No applause, just understanding. Admiral Caudle, the man with 40 years in the Navy, found the words. Deadly precision, meticulous execution, raw power, and the will to use it. That was the message to the entire world. America is ready for anything. The jets disappeared into the clouds. The demonstration was officially over. But the meaning of what Trump witnessed that day would echo across the globe. Let's be clear about what you just watched. Not a parade, not a celebration, a warning. Delivered in fire and steel, the United States Navy is the most powerful force on the planet. And on this day, they proved it. China builds new carriers every year, trying to compete. Russia claims they have superior hypersonic weapons. Iran threatens to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. But none of them can match what Trump saw that day. Not even close. But deterrence works not by firing weapons. It's by making sure no one ever wants to. Power is not about making threats. It's about having capability and the will to use it. On October 5th, 2025, America showed both. Think about what this moment represents. 250 years of naval history. From wooden ships in 1775 to nuclear supercarriers in 2025. Every missile that launched, every jet that flew, every SEAL that dropped from the sky, all of it. Proof that American sea power remains uncontested. One man stood on the deck of the most powerful warship ever built. Around him, missiles launched, stealth fighters screamed, SEALs descended, He didn't just watch a demonstration. He witnessed the future of warfare. What protects freedom of the seas? What keeps shipping lanes open? What ensures no enemy dares challenge American waters? The president returned to shore. The sailors went back to work. But the message was sent. If this gave you chills, hit subscribe. Which moment shocked you most? Drop it in the comments.